Hello everybody, this is the Epic Game Guru, and this time we are checking out Will to Live. Normally when I do these reviews, I at least have an aspect of what's going on in the game, but when I first started playing Will to Live, I had no idea what was going on, so I finally decided to click that story option and figure that out from there. And I have to say, the game's storyline is pretty good. Guys, you gotta have to forgive me on the textures a bit here. This is not actually how the game looks like when you actually first start playing. I can see that the textures are a little bit off, but this is just the way for some reason that Streamlabs decided to record the game. But aside from the textures messing up at the beginning, there is actually no texture problems with the rest of the game. But as I was gonna say, this game actually does have some pretty good amount of selectable classes, with 4 of them included with their own specialties and weapons to be designed to be used by those specific class types. Classes themselves actually do make a huge impact in this game because depending on which class you are playing, it's going to affect your playstyle. Ah yes, very original name for sure. Alright, my character's ready, I'm ready to go, let's hop right into this thing. Normally in most survival games they'll at least have an idea and basic understanding of what you're doing, but you have no actual tutorial when it comes to Will to Live. You basically have to understand every little aspect of this game as you go, which is kind of difficult at times because most of the stuff you really wish you had an explanation for, but the game is doing a fairly good job of actually showing how difficult it can get. Once you're done speaking with one of the doctors in the game, he'll end up giving you a PDA. Now this little PDA is very important because it's designed to show you quests, locations, able to mark different areas in the map that you will want to go to be able to get extra resources. The PDA is by far one of the best guides in the game, and you're going to really need it if you're planning to survive within Will to Live. Once you're done looking over your PDA, you're going to have to go through a few obstacle courses as well as a shooting range. Now again, I had no idea how to even get through this, so I ended up walking over the gate without realizing I was supposed to first go through the obstacle course and thought I could skip through everything. But after going through the shooting range, I discovered something a little bit crazy. One thing I didn't really see coming at all when it came to Will to Live was finding out that the starting pistol is one of the best guns in the game. It has one of the lowest cost options, and as well as the fact that it does level up over time as your character's being used to using it. And upon using any type of weapon within the game, you actually learn to use it a lot more frequently, which adds to both its effectiveness and damage overall. Once you're done going through all the tutorials and every little thing the game has to offer you at the beginning, you're going to have to end up taking things a little bit more seriously upon after that. Because you're going to have to do a lot of different types of quests, and a lot of these unfortunately involve a lot of fetch quests, kill quests, and very simple stuff at the very beginning until it starts progressing into more harder quests over time. One of my biggest regrettable mistakes in the game was assuming that I could just use a knife to be able to kill off the majority of the enemies without realizing that it was better off to just be using my gun than trying to use any form of a knife at the very start of the game. You see how simple that is? Looting enemies is also pretty simple in the game. Once you end up killing a few of these AIs, you'll end up being able to recover whatever they have in their bodies just by simply holding F and pressing the spacebar to loot all. If you want to select something individually, just hover over the item and take what you need. The game's inventory management system is also pretty simplified. Just hover over an item to figure out what it does in the description to see if you're going to need it or not. There are a lot of items in the game also have their own form of base value you could sell to a merchant if you're interested in just getting rid of it that way. I have to be 100% honest, I think I spend most of my time killing a lot of rats just to see if I can make some extra profit to determine whether or not it is even possible to get back your base value after killing enough by using the pistol. Speaking of the merchants in the game, you will be able to sell pretty much about every single item in the game to these certain vendors. There are some vendors that are not willing to take in certain items such as junk just because they're smart enough not to be able to take in that junk. However, you will be meeting a lot of vendors who are willing to buy just about anything from you, so if you're having a problem with money, just go ahead and sell it off to a vendor. Getting water in this game is relatively easy. You just go towards a water source, which is usually just a well within the city lines or within a certain area that has NPCs in it. You can almost guarantee that there is going to be at least some sort of a water well if you're within the vicinity of a city or if NPCs inhabit the area. One thing I will have to say though is that I thought at first that dirty water was negatively affecting my body, considering that you would never drink any form of dirty water source in real life. But as it turns out, as long as you are within the city and drink the water, you're perfectly fine. It's not logical in real life, but in Will to Live, it makes more sense than anything else. Remember when I was talking about that as you're using the macro off, your character just starts becoming slowly more effective with it and the more damage it starts doing over time? This is the character information screen that actually shows you a ton of different weapons that you're able to use and increase stats with. However, if you're not using weapons specified with your class, they will increase much, much slower. Alright, so I'm finally doing one of the last fetch quests that I had to do within the game, but once you are fully done doing these fetch quests within the city, that's when the world really starts to expand. You start to understand how really big this game actually is. I have to be 100% honest, this is probably one of the biggest survival maps I've ever seen in a video game. This game is so huge, they had to include separate sectors, different numerical numbers, and even different locations for you to explore to a point where they had to add teleporters in order for you to get by all of it. Even though technically speaking, that's not technically a bad thing. I mean, having teleporters around to aid the player and just being able to explore the rest of the map, it makes things just to travel a little bit easier, but it still can be a little bit overwhelming. Also, did I forget to mention that if you're not careful, little things here or there, even out of curiosity, might kill you? RIP! What I find kind of funny of all is that the game actually does give you an experience point just for dying, just because it seems like the creators knew themselves that you were going to be willing to throw yourself into a tornado. However, the only problem is, well, you lose half of your items that you just found, and you need to go back to your dead body and recollect the backpack in order to get your items back. Lesson learned, don't throw yourself into a strange little tornado out on the street. Overall, I would have to say that this game does end on a very good positive note. It is rather grindy and it is really long and tedious sometimes to explore the entire map as a whole, but they give you so many different options to be able to travel around a lot quicker, and things are never too far apart except for maybe just one location where you have to literally walk all the way back and try to just hustle your way back into the mine area. Aside from a few very, very minor flaws, and the fact that the game is still technically in an alpha stage, not even in a beta stage, I would have to say this is a really well done game for just being an alpha. They already added a lot of different ways you can survive very easily. If you know exactly where you're going and what you're doing, you can avoid a lot of death in this game entirely. I have yet to die with my character for a long period of time because I've avoided a lot of the more dangerous areas and anomalies that would just instant kill me. So in overall, it's definitely a good game. I mean, there's really not that many bad things I could say about Will to Live Online. Yeah, it could be a little bit tedious at the beginning, but once you get a very good understanding of how to play the game, how to get certain items, and how commission works to be able to trade with some players, the game becomes an absolute crack hell of a lot of fun because you end up being able to grow really quickly and being able to profit off the items you gain, which also feels very rewarding. Other than that, I hope you all enjoyed this review. Tell me what you all thought in the comment sections. I would love to hear your thoughts about this game. And if you guys enjoyed the video that much, go ahead and subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you all next time.